Lecture 2: Diocletian and the Crises of the 3rd Century. During the 3rd century, the Roman Empire reeled from a series of military, political, and economic crises. Indeed, it came very close to total collapse. However, an emperor by the name of Diocletian managed to starve off that collapse, at least for a few centuries. In saving the empire, however, Diocletian transformed it greatly. Despite his intense conservatism and respect for Roman tradition, Diocletian abandoned the pretense of republicanism maintained by predecessors and ruled in an openly autocratic manner. He also attempted to regiment society to a degree unprecedented in Roman history. These transformations did much to give the Roman Empire its distinctive tone during late antiquity. Outline: the Roman Empire had experienced many troubled periods in its history, but the crisis of the 3rd century AD probably surpassed in severity all the earliest ones. During the 3rd century, the Roman Empire was attacked along most of its widely extended borders. Persian attacks in Syria, Palestine, and incursions by Germanic barbarians across the Rhine-Danube frontier in Central Europe constituted the most serious threats. In 251 and again in 260, Roman emperors were captured and or killed in battle, which was symptomatic of the deterioration of Roman defenses. The Roman Empire also entered a period of extreme political instability. Between 235 and 284, every Roman emperor but one died violently, either in battle against Roman enemies or through assassination or lynching. Some 20-odd emperors ruled during this period, which represents a very high rate of turnover. The Roman economy also entered a period of hyperinflation, which rendered Roman money worthless for decades. Emperor Diocletian, who ruled from 284 to 305, stabilized the Roman Empire, and in the process substantially reshaped it. A general elevated to the office of emperor by his soldiers, Diocletian devoted the first 14 years of his reign to tireless military activity against Roman usurpers and foreign invaders. He successfully restored Rome's frontiers and subdued open internal opposition to his rule. Diocletian ripped away the facade of republicanism that emperors had maintained since the time of Augustus. He ruled in an openly autocratic manner, referring the title Dominus et Deus, Lord and God, or Princeps, first citizen. He rarely appeared in public and employed elaborate court rituals to emphasize the vast difference between the emperor and his subjects. One of Diocletian's greatest innovations was the creation of a new political system known as tetrarchy. Tetrarchy means the rule of four. Under the tetrarchic system, Diocletian divided the empire into two halves, eastern and western. Each half had its own emperor. Diocletian chose to be emperor in the east, and each emperor had an assistant known as a Caesar. The tetrarchy was designed to solve two major problems: the great size of the Roman Empire and the lack of a clear principle of succession to the office of emperor. By Diocletian's time, the empire's size made it difficult for any single individual to respond to the two crises along the Roman frontiers. With four rulers, two emperors, and two Caesars, crises could be dealt with much more quickly. Since the days of Augustus, it was unclear how a new emperor would be determined. When the previous emperor had died, the tetrarchic system was intended to provide a simple system of succession. When the two emperors retired, the two Caesars would become emperors. Then the new emperors would choose two new Caesars, who would eventually become emperors in turn. The tetrarchic system worked poorly as a means of succession. However, the division of the empire stuck. During the 4th century, there were periods when a single emperor ruled over both the East and the West, but as of 395, the division between East and Western halves of the empire was permanent. Diocletian and his successor, Constantine, died 337, also attempted to restructure much of Roman society, militarizing substantial sections of it and creating a professional caste system that forced individuals to follow their father's professions and restricted physical movement in the empire. Diocletian and Constantine regarded all civil servants as part of the empire and required them to wear military uniforms. Diocletian and Constantine required the sons of soldiers to become soldiers, the sons of bakers to become bakers, the sons of certain government officials to hold the same offices as their fathers, and so on. Although not all professions were declared to be hereditary, many were. Diocletian ordered all peasants to remain bound to the land assigned to them in Roman tax registers. Diocletian and Constantine lacked the means to force children to follow their father's professions and to force all peasants to reside on specific plots of land. Nonetheless, some tenant peasants did find themselves bound to the land that they rented, and the ambition of the emperor's plans reveals the lengths to which the later Roman Empire would go to preserve itself. Questions to consider: to what extent is it proper and accurate to depict Diocletian's Roman Empire as a totalitarian state? Compared to modern totalitarian states, how totalitarian was it? Were Diocletian's reforms painful but necessary, or might other changes have preserved the Roman Empire at less cost? Lecture 3: Constantine the Great, Christian Emperor. Christianity was an illegal religion in the Roman Empire from the 1st century onward. Christians were subjected to local persecution, and from the middle of the 3rd century onwards, imperial persecution as well, especially during the reign of Diocletian, when the would-be emperor Constantine converted to Christianity in 312. It was a dramatic and unexpected event, because Constantine was so similar to Diocletian, a staunch pagan, in our respects, and because Christianity appealed to people who were not of much use to Constantine in his civil war. Constantine's military victories, which allowed him to gain control of most of the Roman Empire as 324, and his active support of Christianity began the process whereby Christianity went from a minority illegal religion to the majority official religion of the Roman Empire. Outline: the study of religion poses serious problems to historians, because adherents and non-adherents of any given faith tend to explain the emergence and spread of faiths very differently. Believers tend to maintain that their religion emerged and spread because it is true, while other religions emerge and spread for some other reason. Historians cannot explain the emergence of polytheism, of monotheism in its various guises, or of atheism in terms of truth or of falsity. Without affirming or denying the truth of any of these beliefs, historians must seek to explain the emergence and spread of each in terms of prevailing historical conditions that existed at specific places and times. Christianity and Roman paganism differed fundamentally on a number of vital issues. And prior to the conversion of the emperor, Christianity appealed more strongly to certain segments of Roman society than to others. Polytheism privileged ritual over faith. Romans did not require the inhabitants of their empire to believe in the existence of Roman gods. However, they did require the empire's inhabitants to honor these gods through sacrifices, which would ward off the gods' anger and instead bring their assistance. Christianity maintained that the Roman gods were demons striving to deceive people and prevent them from believing in the one true God. Christians refused, or at least were supposed to refuse, to honor the Roman gods. In the first 3 centuries of Christianity's existence, it appealed more strongly to some groups in Roman society than others. Christianity appealed to groups alienated in various ways from Roman civilization and unable to participate fully in it. A disproportionate number of women, slaves, freedmen, and freed women and immigrants could be found among the early Christians. Christianity was far more of an urban than a rural religion. To male members of Roman aristocracy, Christianity had little appeal prior to Constantine's conversion. Christianity appealed to the disenfranchised and to highly mobile individuals because it maintained the spiritual equality of all believers and because it offered a tangible sense of community to these who could not find it in the vastness of the empire. Romans were deeply offended by the Christian refusal to offer sacrifices to Roman gods. The empire sometimes attempted to stamp out Christianity entirely within its borders. However, the persecution of Christians varied according to time and space. Until the middle of the 3rd century, persecution of Christians was sporadic and local. It often came about as a response to a recent local calamity, such as an earthquake or fire for which Christians were blamed. Although it was illegal to be a Christian everywhere in the empire, the Emperor Trajan established a don't ask, don't tell policy towards Christianity circa 110. Roman officials were not to ferret out Christians or to entertain anonymous accusations of Christianity. They were only to respond to open accusations of Christianity made by individuals willing to identify themselves. Early in the middle of the 3rd century, the Roman government began to sponsor empire-wide persecutions of Christians, probably in response to the crises of the 3rd century discussed in the last lecture. These persecutions, however, were not a constant fact of life. Emperor Diocletian 302 launched the largest imperial persecution of Christians to date. The unexpected conversion of Emperor Constantine to Christianity changed the position of Christianity in the Roman Empire overnight. In 312, Constantine, still just a usurper, saw a Christian symbol in the sky as he marched to do battle. With his main rival for control of the western half of the Roman Empire, Constantine had his soldiers paint the symbols on their shields, then triumphed at the Battle of Milvian Bridge. Constantine went on to become emperor of the eastern half of the empire in 324, and every emperor after Constantine, save one, would be a Christian. It seems unlikely that Constantine's conversion was the result of political calculation. Why would he deliberately antagonize important pagan sectors of Roman society to give support to a powerless minority? Constantine exercised a strong control of the Christian Church, summoning and presiding over the Council of Nicaea in 325 in an attempt to settle disputes over heresy. He also supported the Christian Church legislatively and financially, while penalizing and perhaps even outlawing paganism. As a result, the 4th century witnessed a flood of conversions from paganism to Christianity in the Roman Empire.